Welcome to today's tutorial, guys. We're going to be looking at further equations. So far you should have looked at the lessons on one-step equations and two-step equations. So today I'm going to be looking at three-step and I guess just simply more challenging questions. So the first question we're going to look at is 2x plus 3 divided by 4 equals 5. Now I guess this is a relatively easier three-step equation. Now remember, what's the aim of all equations? Well, the aim is at the end of it to have the letter by itself. So the letter on one side and all the numbers on the other side. In this case we want to solve to figure out what x is going to be, so that when I do 2 times x and add 3 and then divide my answer all by 4, the answer will be 5. Okay, so I've got a 4, I've got a plus 3 and a 2 to eliminate or to move to the other side. So which is the most by itself? Well, the 2 and the 3 are both upstairs. So the 4 is actually the most alone. So the 4 is who I can get rid of first of all. So what's the opposite of divided by 4? Well, it's times by 4. So then we need to clean it up and say 2x plus 3 is equal to 20. Okay, that's our first step. Our second step, we've got the 2 and the 3 to eliminate. Well, obviously the 2 is joined to the x, so the 3 is the easiest to move over. The opposite of plus is minus. Remember that saying, if it changes sides, it changes signs. We then clean up and get 2x equals 17. So now we're to our final step of the three-step equation. We need to get rid of that 2. Remember, what is between the 2 and the x? Well, it's a times 2. So the opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. Now we have two options to write our answer. We can simply rewrite the question. Instead of having 17 divided by 2, because it's not going to be a whole number, I can just rewrite it as over and have it as, instead of 17 divided by 2, 17 over 2. Some of you, because it's going to be just a one decimal place, it's going to be a terminating decimal, you might want to leave this number as actually 8.5. Okay, but to be honest, I like leaving them as fractions because it's nice and easy. I don't need to have a calculator. Okay, so that's our first question for our further equations. Example 2. You might want to pause this and go ahead and have a go at trying to do these questions, and then you can press play to see if you get them right. Okay, there's two ways that you can do this question. I'm going to show you one way, and then we'll look at a separate question after this and look at the other way. This question has 3 outside of 2a plus 4, so that means 3 times whatever's inside the brackets equals 12. Now, your first option, if you're not really sure what to do, the first option would be obviously to expand the brackets, and then you would have a very similar question to what we've done before. But what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do this a quicker way, I guess. Well, that 3 is furthest away from all these, because at least these two numbers, the 2 and the 4, are inside the bracket. So what's the opposite of times 3? It's going to be divide by 3. So we're left with 2a plus 4 equals, well, 12 divided by 3 equals 4. And look at that, I've got rid of the brackets, okay, because there's no number outside anymore. So what's my next step? Well, I've got a 2 and a 4. It's like a normal two-step equation. The 4 is the most alone, so opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So I'm left with 2a equals, well, 4 take away 4 equals 0. So the opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. A equals, well, 0 divided by 2 equals 0. Like always, I didn't do this for the first question, but remember that we can test it to see if that works out for a equals 0. So in this case, 2 times 0, well, that's 0, plus 4 is 4. 3 times 4 equals 12. My solution's correct. Well done. Remember, you could have expanded the brackets. I'm going to show you, hopefully, a way to remember when you can do that and when you don't have to. So we're going to look at example 3 now. Again, you might want to pause this, have a crack, see if you can get it right and come back. Now, that previous question, I did say you could either expand the brackets first of all if you weren't sure what to do and then work the question, or you could divide it by that number to start with. Now, that won't always be the best case by dividing the number, because let's have a look. Well, what's the opposite of times 5? It's divide by 5. Can we do 3 divided by 5? Well, we can do it, but it won't be a whole number. So it's going to be more challenging to work with. So what I'm going to do, because I can't, if I do 3 divided by 5, it's not going to be a whole number. Let's do it the longer way. Let's expand these brackets. Now, if you recall the rainbow method, you times in whatever is inside the brackets by the 5. So 5 times 3 is 15q. 5 times 4 is 20. And if you're not really sure what to do with this equation anyway, by expanding the brackets, you'll generally pick up 1 mark. Okay, so now you can see this looks like a normal two-step equation where I've got a 15 with the q and I've got a 20. So I've got 2 numbers to get rid of. So obviously, hopefully, you realize that the 20 is the easiest one to eliminate. The opposite of plus 20, minus 20. So we should be left with 15q is equal to, well, this time 3 take away 20 is minus 17. So a more challenging number. Okay, we're nearly there. We need to get rid of that times by 15. So opposite of times, divide. Now, likewise before when we said that if it doesn't come out to be a whole number with my fraction or with my division, then we can just rewrite that divided by sign as an over sign. This is exactly the same case. We've got minus 17. I'm going to put it over 15. And I'm not even going to bother. I mean, we could write that as a mixed numeral. Okay, and put it as minus 1 and 2 over 15, but to be honest, that first answer, I'm very happy if you get that far. Okay, so I really advise you to leave it in that format. Alright, we're going to now look at example 4. We've got 2 more to do. 5 equals 3a minus 4. Okay, well, this is actually going to be looks like a normal two-step equation. What's the difference between this question and previous questions? Well, you might realize that the a is on the right-hand side. Look, it's very easy to work with the a on the right-hand side, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll also show you a second way if you don't like working with the a on the right-hand side. But in this case, look, I want to get the numbers to the left-hand side because the a is on the right-hand side. So let's have a look. We've got a 3 and a 4. Hopefully you realize that the 4 is the one that we can get rid of. So if it changes sides, it changes signs. So 5 plus 4 is 9 equals 3a. Okay, we've got one last step to go. How do I get rid of times 3? Well, we divide by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3 equals a. I've got my solution, or you could write a equals 3. We could double check that. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 4, yep, that equals 5. But you might think, well, I don't really like working with the a's on the right hand side. It's a little bit confusing for me. And that's fine. If that's the case, if you get the question 5 equals 3a minus 4, you can actually just simply rewrite it with the equal sign on the other side. That means you can put the 3a minus 4 there, and you can just put the equals 5. Doesn't matter which side the equals on. And then look, it's a question that we've been used to. It's a very straightforward one. Like before, opposite of minus 4 is plus 4. 3a equals 9. The opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. A equals 3. And again, you can quickly test it, just like we did last time, as 3 times 3 is 9. 9 take away 4 is 5, which equals 5. Okay, last question, guys. E.g. 5 now. This is going to be slightly more challenging. We've got 3 minus 2a equals 6. Like any equations, like in most questions in maths, there's always lots of different ways to solve this. I'm going to look at this question, and again, there's 2 ways I can deal with this. We had the a on the left hand side, so we can work with that. But you'll notice it's a negative 2a, and to be honest with you, I don't often like working with negative 2a's. Okay, I like working with positive a's. It helps me in the long run. So this is what I'm going to do. I want to try to turn that negative 2a into a positive. Now, how do I do that? Well, we know if it changes sides, well, it changes signs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the 2a on that right hand side. I'm going to rewrite it, and all of a sudden it's positive. Now I can just work like I did last time. If I want to work to the having the a's on the right hand side, get the numbers to the left hand side, or if you really like it, and what we'll do in this particular case, we're just going to rewrite that 6 plus 2a and have the equals 3 on the right hand side, because I've been used to that. And now it's just a simple question where we want to get rid of the plus 6. What's the opposite of plus 6? Well, it's minus 6. So 2a equals 3 take away 6 is negative 3. And then we've got the times 2. Well, the opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. So I'm left with a equals negative 3 over 2. Okay, so in that case, I plus the 2a to the right hand side because I wanted it as a positive. I then just rewrote the question having it in the numbers on the left hand side, but you could have worked to the right hand side. Well, I am going to show you a separate way how to do this question. Okay, a separate way how to do this question. We're actually going to work with this on the left, on having the negative on the left hand side. Okay, you might feel comfortable in doing this, you might not. So what's the opposite of positive 3? Well, it's minus 3. So I'm left with minus 2a equals 6 take away 3 equals 3. I've only got one step left. Now this is why this gets a little bit more challenging, because I've got a minus 2a on the left hand side. So if I had said to you how to get rid of minus 2, a lot of people would come back with, well, plus 2. And this is the problem, because it's it's not the minus that we're looking at in particular, it's what separates the 2 from the a. Because remember, they're the two things I'm trying to separate. Well, actually, we've got a minus 2 times a equals 3. So the bit that's actually separating the 2 from the a is not the minus, it's the actual times. So what's the opposite of times? Well, it's divided by, and we're taking the whole thing over the negative 2. So we're left with a equals 3 over negative 2, which is obviously the same answer as the last one. And it doesn't actually matter where that minus goes. You might have minus 3 over 2, you might have 3 over negative 2, or you might put the negative next to both of them. Okay, it still means the same answer, still means negative 1.5. Okay, so much more challenging question, but as you can see, I've given you a number of different ways that you could actually solve that. So it's up to you which way you want to solve it. Have you got some of these more challenging questions, and then when you feel more comfortable, you can move on to equations with letters on both sides.